Alright, we are live, ladies and germs. And these are my shitties. Looking very unimpressed. Alright, sissy kitty. You silly asses. Come up and headbutt the camera, why don't you dingbat? But we're going to be getting started here with a live review of the race from Sonoma. I know it's a little bit late, but past couple days have been kind of exhausting at work for me, so every time I wanted to do it, I just felt way too exhausted. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is the fuel. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the Packer Man, and welcome to tonight's edition of The Fuel. A Wednesday edition, because, like I said, the past 2 days have been pretty brutal as far as work is concerned. Working in the heat is not exactly an easy thing. But at any rate, tonight we're going to be reviewing the Dodge, or not the Dodge Save Mart 350, that's what it used to be known as, but now it's known as the Toyota Save Mart 350 from the Sonoma Raceway. This is our 93rd episode of The Fuel. The title of tonight's episode, 5 is the hot number. Kyle Larson's on fire, folks. Like, it is absolutely insane what this guy is doing in the Cup Series right now. If you look at his last 5 races, he has finished second, first, and first. But it's really the last 2 races that have been the most impressive, because he has started on the pole in the last 2 races. He has won every stage in the last 2 races. He has led the most laps in the last 2 races, and he has won the last 2 races. Kyle Larson has been nothing short of perfection the last 2 races. In the Coca-Cola 600, ow! God damn it, cat! Fucking cat slipped off the damn desk and basically clawed my leg trying to steady herself. No. God damn, as if I have enough scratches already. But, yeah, Kyle Larson has been nothing short of perfection the last 2 races. I mean, it's just been unbelievable. And all of a sudden, it's not looking so likely that Hamlin is going to walk away with the regular season title. As I try to readjust the camera here. because it's looking like Kyle Larson wants him that regular season title and all the bonus points that go with it. And I'm just going to be real with you people. If Kyle Larson at this point in time is not on your short list of championship favorites, what the fuck is wrong with you? Have you not seen what this guy has been able to do in 2021 so far? Particularly the last 5 races that we've seen where he's been either first or second, with the last 2 races being absolute domination. And as luck would have it, in the random draw for the All-Star race, he's starting on pole yet again. Larson is completely and totally on fire right now. As I said, this was his second straight perfect win. Started from the pole, led the most laps, won the race. It's actually the first time that, since they went to stage racing, that a driver has won both stages and the race at Sonoma. Because usually on a road course setting, you know, you kind of want to, sometimes you'll give up stage points in order to set yourself up to try to get the race win. Kyle Larson and the 5 teams said, fuck that noise. And they beat everybody on pure speed. I mean, they were even outrunning Chase Elliott, who's considered the road course king right now. And it's just like, holy shit, dude. In fact, I would say as a whole, Hendrick Motorsports is firing on all cylinders right now. And in fact, with this race, they actually tied a record that has stood since 1956, I believe they said. Hendrick had their 4th consecutive 1-2 finish. And they have tied the super powerhouse team from Carl Kakehafer. That's a name you're probably not familiar with. Kakehafer was a bit of a hard ass back in the 1950s. I think he owned, what kind of company did he own? I'm trying to remember right off the top of my head. He owned some kind of company, and he decided to get into NASCAR. It's kind of a way to advertise and show off his brand. And when he did get into the NASCAR scene in the mid-50s, he built one of the best multi-car teams in NASCAR history at that point. I mean, his team was just crazy good. I mean, he had the Flock brothers, he had Herb Thomas as one of his drivers at one point. I mean, he had some damn good drivers driving for him as well. And he had the best equipment at that point in time. So, for Hendrick Motorsports to tie such a record, of course, they've already broken, you know, the team record for most victories. They're now up to 270, I believe, and they're just going to continue extending that record. But for Hendrick Motorsports to tie yet another long-standing record is just remarkable right now. And considering that a few short years ago, Hendrick was just dog meat for a while, but now they've got all these young guys. They're starting to come to fruition. Of course, Chase is the defending champion. You got Kyle Larson, who, this was only his 9th win in his entire career, which is just crazy to think about. And 3 of those wins have come in this season. So it just shows you how good of a move going over to Hendrick was. And then you have Alex Bowman, who's won twice, and William Byron, who won at Homestead. So Hendrick's young guys are starting to find their footing in their drives with Hendrick Motorsports. And of course, all of them going to be in the playoff. And I would say Chase is probably going to be a championship contender. I don't know about Alex Bowman. He's pretty inconsistent at the moment. William Byron only has the 1 win, but he has been super consistent, as his string of top 10 finishes will show. But without a doubt, Hendrick's best bullet right now is that 5 team with Kyle Larson behind the wheel. They have been absolutely stout this year, particularly in the last 5 races. I mean, in a couple of instances, Larson led the most laps, but ended up not winning. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he should probably have like 5 to 6 wins at this point right now. Kyle Larson has been that good. I mean, he has far and away led the most laps this season at 1,100 laps led. And we're not even to the halfway point of the season yet. That's just unbelievable. But before we get into the race review itself, there is a little bit of news that came out this week, and it's from our two new teams on the circuit this year, Trackhouse and 2311 Racing. They're looking to expand to a second team next year. Both of them are. And there have been rumors speculating as to, who the second drivers are going to be. I think Daniel Suarez and Bubba Wallace are going to remain at in their respective rides. Even though Bubba still doesn't have a top 10 finish yet this season, I mean, it's still a brand new team for the most part, as is Trackhouse Racing. Although Suarez has definitely been the more impressive of the two. I mean, there have been a lot of cases where he has been a contender. In some cases, a contender for the win. Remember the Bristol Dirt Race, where he led some laps in that race and looked very, very solid and ended up with a top 5 result. Yeah. So, obviously, they're looking to expand next year. So, who's going to be the drivers of those cars, if they do indeed expand to 2 cars? Well, nothing has really come up yet as far as Trackhouse Racing goes, but there is a name that has popped up that might be in line for the second 2311 car, and that's Kurt Busch. There's a lot of people that were speculating at first that Kurt Busch might have been retiring after this year, but he kind of, put the kibosh on that by putting out a pretty cool little tweet that says, "I'm not going anywhere," and that sort of thing. So he's not going anywhere, but he's in a contract year. His contract with Ganassi expires at the end of this year, and needless to say, I don't think he's been too happy with the team's performances this year. He honestly should be performing a lot better than he is, and it just seems like Ganassi's just not there at the moment. I mean, Chastain's been doing pretty solid the last couple weeks, but I think both cars got in the top 10 at Sonoma. But it's pretty obvious that Kurt's not been very happy with the one team, and he might be looking to, find a new team to drive for, and maybe a move to Toyota in 2022 might be what he needs to basically jumpstart his rise back to the top. I don't know if that'll happen with 2311 Racing, but but that's basically been the big rumors that Kurt Busch might be on the move, might be heading to 2311 next year to team with Bubba Wallace. Is that going to be the case? Nobody knows at this point. It's just a rumor. So, I mean, it could happen. I mean, you never really know. But at this point in time, it's just a rumor. So I would, at the very least, take it with a grain of salt at this point in time. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this review and get it done and over with. The 2021 Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma. The stages broke down like this. Stages 1 and 2 were 20 laps, with stage 3 being 50 laps. So, like I said, Kyle Larson starts from the pole this time due to the little system that they got in place since they don't have qualifying. Metric qualifying, I think it's called now. Hamlin tries to make a move on Byron in turn 7 on the first lap, but overshoots it, and Byron basically gets back under him. Larson leads lap 1, and by the time we got to the second lap, he already had a 2.5 second lead. Christopher Bell had an unscheduled pit stop for no fuel pressure, but they were able to get that fixed. They basically reset the ECU, and that seemed to fix the problem. Truex up into the top 10 on lap 7 after starting 19th. Of course, he's a pretty good road course driver. Hamlin gets by Byron for 3rd at the hairpin. A piece of plastic sticks to Harvick's grill, but he's able to keep it going. Didn't really report any overheating issues, though. Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman, before the comp yellow, as well as several others, come in for tires, but due to the rules, they can't fuel the car until after the competition caution comes out. Larson pits from the lead on lap 10 for fresh tires, and we had our first caution on lap 11, which of course was the comp caution. Everyone who didn't come in would pit out into this caution, and they were allowed to get fuel and tires. So Larson leads on the restart. Truex was already up to the top 5 at this point. Kyle Busch gets by Byron for 3rd, and then Truex gets by Byron for 4th as Byron starts to backslide a little bit. Hamlin actually had a bit of nose damage after running into the back of somebody. Didn't really seem to affect him all that much, though. Some cars come in before pit road closes for the stage end, because with 2 laps to go, they've closed pit roads. So, but if you're on pit road before pit road closes, then you're good to go. And Larson wins stage number 1. There was some strategy, but stage 1 was boring as hell. Kind of felt very similar to what happened in the Coke 600, to be honest. So most of the field comes in for service. We get to stage number 2, which is also 20 laps. Kurt Busch stays out and leads the start of stage 2. Elliott and Larson, who is back in the pack now a little bit, are back up to 9th and 10th respectively, and they just came charging through the field. Byron gets by Keselowski for 3rd at the hairpin. Byron gets by Kurt Busch at the hairpin for the race lead, which is our first pure lead change on lap 28 of this 90-lap race, because once again they were using the carousel. Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney, both with front fender damage. Blaney had the worst amount of damage because part of his fender was completely taken off. Larson gets by Kurt Busch for 2nd. And then we have our second caution on lap 32 when Stenhouse cuts down a right front tire and smacks the wall heading into turn 1, which would eventually lead to the end of his day. Several cars come in for service, and Larson leads on the restart. LaJoie nudges Jones out of the way in the carousel. We have a gaggle of cars from 10th on back fighting for position. Bubba would end up with a flat left rear tire. Truex pins before the end of the stage as Larson decides to stay out and win stage number 2. Now you might be asking yourself, why would he stay out and win stage 2 instead of coming in for tires? Well, first of all, he had a super fast car, and second of all, I think Larson is thinking long term, because let's not forget, each of these stage wins is 1 playoff point. Larson currently has 11 stage wins. That's 11 bonus points that carry through the playoff. You add in the fact that he has 3 wins on the year, that's 5 bonus points each. So he has 26 playoff points to start out with. And let's not forget the bonus points that he will get at the end of the regular season, depending on where he finishes. Now, if he becomes the regular season champion, that's 15 extra points. I mean, he's basically employing a strategy that Truex used in 2017 that won him the championship. Because Truex that year won all sorts of stages, won a shit ton of races. I mean, he won 8 races that year and could basically cruise right into the championship 4. I think Larson and his team might be pulling something similar here. So Larson and several others coming for service, obviously, and we get to stage 3, which is 50 laps. So Kurt Busch leads the start of stage 3, kind of a similar situation to what happened in stage 2. Elliott passes Kurt Busch in the hairpin to take the lead on the restart. We have a battle for 3rd between Byron, Kyle Busch, and Brad Keselowski. Kyle Busch moves up to 2nd, but Truex and Larson are coming back towards the front because, of course, they are. Larson nearly goes 3 wide with Truex and Kurt Busch for 3rd in the hairpin. That was kind of crazy. Larson goes by Truex for 3rd in turn 7 and pulls the same move on Kyle Busch for 2nd the very next lap. Then Kyle Busch has to pit early for a delaminating tire, which was a bit of a problem on several cars during this race, where literally the tire delaminates and the rubber basically peels off, you know, like you would if you were taking the lid off of a container. It just peels right off, which put him 3 laps short on fuel. Elliott and Larson start battling for the race lead, with Elliott now in the lead at this point. And Larson takes the lead in turn 7, same move as he pulled on Truex and Kyle Busch, and we have our second pure lead change on lap 59. So Truex gets by Elliott at the hairpin for 2nd. Elliott pits with 28 laps to go for tires. Bowman goes dirt tracking at the carousel but gets it back on track. Truex pits from 2nd with 27 laps to go, and then Larson pits from the lead with 26 laps to go. Logano decides to stay out a little bit longer. Kyle Busch gets by Logano in turn 4 for the race lead, and Kyle Larson goes back around Truex in turn 7 for position. So it's the Kyle and Kyle show at the front once again. But then Larson gets by Kyle Busch for the lead in turn 7. Same move he was using before for our third pure lead change on lap 69. Then we have our third caution on lap 72. Quint Half was stopped on track, so he had to, so they had to throw the caution for that. And then Brad Keselowski, I mean, what a kick to the balls this is. He was actually on pit road right as the caution came out. So under caution, when the caution comes out, everybody immediately slows down. And since he was on pit road right as that happened, you know, he could have come out with a shot to win the race if it weren't for the fact that he was penalized for pit equipment being over the wall too soon. Ouch. That hurts, because he would have had at least a shot to win the race. I mean, I don't think he was beating Larson, but I mean, he at least would have been up at the front instead of back in the pack where, you know, all the calamity seems to happen. Everyone comes in for service and Larson wins the race off pit road. A few cars stay out on this caution, including Logano, who leads on the restart with 16 laps to go. It was at this point that the race got really messy really quick. Larson was already up to third on the restart and then up to second at the hairpin. So, I mean, fresh tires on a car that fast, yeah, it wasn't going to take long. Larson makes the pass on Logano for the race lead in turn 7. Same move he's been pulling all race. And at the same time, Elliott goes by Reddick for the third position. So we have our fourth pure lead change on lap 75. And then we have our fourth caution on lap 76. Ross Chastain gets into Corey LaJoie, checks up and gets rear-ended by Harvick. Byron and Bowman also get front-end damage. Harvick was the worst of that. And there was a little bit of controversy that came out of this, as Chastain was able to grab a gear and got back going again and sped back on to the racetrack, basically cutting off part of the track. And a lot of people were wondering, did he gain positions from that, and is that even legal? Well, normally it wouldn't be, but the caution was already out at that point, so he was just trying to get back going again, and he would maintain position at that point. And he had already been spun out though, so that's honestly a really good question. I mean, I'm pretty sure NASCAR took a look at it and, you know, determined where he should have been on the restart, because he was able to get back going again and maintain speed at the caution. So they obviously didn't penalize him for it. So, you know, I mean, you could argue whether or not it should have been illegal what he did, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to NASCAR, so it is what it is at this point. So Larson leads on the restart with 11 laps to go. Elliott gets by Logano for second. Hamlin crinkles his front end on the back of Alex Bowman's car. Then we have our fifth caution on lap 86 when Priest spins in the S's. And as he tries to get back going again, he comes back on track. And I don't know where the hell his spotter was. There was a big cloud of dust that was kicked up as a result. And he basically came back out into traffic. Cody Ware basically rear ends him and destroys his right front suspension, which sends him back into the 37 and spins him out. I mean, I've been hard on Cody Ware on a couple of occasions this season, but let's be honest here, this was not his fault. I mean, he was trying to get through a cloud of dust, and then all of a sudden there was a car in front of him. You know, I don't know what the hell Priest was thinking, but that was not a very smart move coming back out on the racetrack like that. Larson leads on the restart with 3 laps to go, and then we get our sixth and final caution on lap 88, and this was a dumb caution. Anthony Alfredo goes around after hitting Bell in turn 4, who was also sideways, so he was trying to avoid him, but then he hits him, and that knocks Alfredo's car sideways. And NASCAR waited until everybody was by him, and then they decided to throw the yellow. Like, what the fuck, dude? If you're going to wait that long to throw the caution, then just keep the race green. Like, that was a dumb caution right there. So we're going to a green, white, checkered, because of course we are. So Larson leads the green, white, checkered. Elliott gets really aggressive on the restart, but couldn't quite get to Larson at the top of the hill. And Larson was able to put a gap on his teammate and hold him at bay to win the Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma. But then we had some very interesting shenanigans that happened on the last lap, because Suarez actually dumped McDowell in the last turn on the last lap, and everybody was kind of wondering, well, why did that happen? Well, apparently earlier in the race, in the Estes, McDowell had actually run Daniel Suarez off the track, so Suarez was kind of paying him back. And if you recall, a year or two ago, those two actually got into a bit of a scuffle during a qualifying session. I don't quite remember which race it was, but yeah, the two have a bit of a history, and it reared its ugly head once again in this race. So there you go. So it's a pretty messy race. I mean, the third stage in particular is really messy, especially towards the end. And Hendrick dominates yet again. It's becoming a running theme, and if it keeps going like this, then the rest of the field is in trouble. Because, you know, the past couple years we've seen Joe Gibbs and Penske being dominant, but this year it's looking like the Hendrick Armada, has regained its full strength, and that's not a good sign for the rest of the competition. Especially with someone like Kyle Larson behind the wheel, because we all know he's a damn good race car driver, and now he has the premium equipment to show it. And he is kicking some major ass right now in the Cup Series. But let's take a look at some statistics and give my final rating, and we'll get out of here. So, overall lead changes. We had 13 lead changes overall in this race, with 4 pure lead changes. So, it was actually more than the previous time we were at Sonoma, when we had 0 pure lead changes. But at the same time, we had 0 caution flags, of which this time around we had 6. So, not exactly a good number to have in the caution flag column. But let's go ahead and take a look at the race results and the point standings. First up, race results, top 10 finishers. Kyle Larson, of course, with the win, led 57 of the race's 92 laps and gets the perfect 60. Chase Elliott comes home in second. Martin Truex Jr. in the third position. I mean, those were basically the 3 best cars all day. Yeah, Joey Logano and Kyle Busch rounding out the top 5. They led a few laps. Kurt Busch comes home with his first top 10 finish since Homestead. Led 8 laps on the day. Ross Chastain with a decent run as well, coming home in 7th. Denny Hamlin in 8th. Alex Bowman, despite some damage, comes home 9th. And Ryan Blaney, he had the left front fender basically torn off his car, but still rebounds to finish in the top 10. So, good job by him. Point standings after 16 of the 36 races, which means we are just 10 races away from the playoff. Denny Hamlin continues to lead the way at 664 points. He has finished in the top 10 12 times out of 16 starts this season. But Kyle Larson is coming in a hurry. He has led 1,162 laps on the season, clearly more than anybody else. And he now has 3 wins on the year, with 11 top 10s, 9 top 5s, and he's just 47 points behind Denny Hamlin at this point. I mean, Hamlin had a humongous lead at one point, but that lead is shrinking rapidly. Chase Elliott is third with William Byron in fourth, so 3 of the Hendrick Armada in the top 5. Then you have Joey Logano rounding out the top 5. Then you have Truex, Kyle Busch, who's making his way forward through the standings as well, as he's starting to find his groove. Ryan Blaney, Kevin Harvick, who has still not won yet this year. We're 16 races in. Man, neither Denny Hamlin nor Kevin Harvick have won this year. And those two combined for 16 wins last year. That just goes to show you how just chaotic the Cup Series can be year to year. You have Brad Keselowski rounding out the top 10, and then Alex Bowman with 2 wins, but a bit more inconsistent than his teammates. He's 11th in points. Then you have Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick, both of the RCR cars, in the top 16. Chris Buescher doing himself proud in the 17 car. He's got a shot to make the playoff. And then you have Christopher Bell and Michael McDowell in 15th and 16th. They each have a win at Daytona to their credit. Of course, McDowell won the 500, and then Christopher Bell won the road course race, so they're in the playoff at this point. And then the rest of the top 10, Matt DiBenedetto, Kurt Busch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Ross Chastain. As for my final rating for the Toyota Save Mart 350, this race was a little bit messy. Stage 1 was boring as hell. It did start to pick up in Stage 2, and in Stage 3 there was some interesting bits. Watching Larson and Elliott and Truex come through the field after being put back in the pack due to strategy, I mean, that was pretty cool to watch, especially Larson. He's just been absolutely unbelievable so far this year. I mean, like I said, he should have at least 5 to 6 wins at this point right now instead of just 3. You know, if it weren't for terrible luck and bad calls from NASCAR. But, you know, it is what it is. He's, to me, he's the clear championship favorite at this point. We're 16 races in, and he has just been on fire right now. He's absolutely on fire. He is the clear-cut championship favorite at this point. And if he's not on your short list of championship title hopefuls, you're out of your mind. That's all I can say. But a decent enough Sonoma race. I think Sonoma is basically the weakest of the road courses, but it put in a pretty decent race on Sunday. So my final rating, I will give it a 5 on the fuel gauge. So wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible either. So I'll leave it at that. The next race for the Cup Series is the All-Star race at Texas Motor Speedway with a crazy format. And we'll get into all that this coming Monday because it's on a Sunday night for some weird-ass fucking reason. Don't ask me why. I'm not the one who made the schedule. But that's going to do it for tonight's edition of The Fuel, a bit of a Wednesday edition because I just wasn't in the mood to do it the past couple days because it's just been too damn hot. But there you go. We've finally done the Sonoma review, and now we look forward to the All-Star race on Sunday night. And hopefully it doesn't completely suck a giant pile of balls. But thank you very much for watching tonight's edition of The Fuel. And until next time, this is the Packer Man signing out. See you later.
Thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to like and subscribe, you rats!